These theories actually gives us a proper literature view, a literature review when we look at our three aspects that we want to look into. The first one is student success. Now, higher educations actually have used the student success as a tool or a criteria for evaluating performance. And the well-being of the student now becomes where the performance is being evaluated by the desired outcome that they need to bring. And then motivation becomes where the students are rewarded or actually given incentives in terms of appreciation of the effort they have put in terms of their academic success. Now, from this part, I will call Dr. Mabaso to come and continue.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
We'll
morning.
be looking at the research methodology that we put up for this paper, an interpretivism quality approach using exploratory research design with 12 prospective sample STEM students in the selected university during the second year of study. However, only 10 of those participants were taken because of the saturation issue. And we also did the face-to-face interviews to collect this data. And then the majority of the participants were among the female, as you see, it was 72%, and then the males were 28%. So for the analysis of this data, we use the thematic analysis that is based on the 6 steps according to Beckham and Brown and Clark 2006. So where we were able to find these 4 things. So these 4 things that emerged from that from the data that we collected. So these 4 things were supported um, by the quotes from the participant that we interviewed for this research. So the success and the potential is the first one, where the student they were saying that the grades are not the only thing that motivates them to succeed, but also they have to learn and comprehend the information that they have. So it's not about memorizing. So the second one, it was motivational and persistent. So in this one, they were saying that the thing that will keep them motivated is the reward, the incentive that they get. For example, the grade that they will receive, and also the recognition by maybe the peers and also by the lecturer that is teaching them. And then the third one, we're looking at the well-being and balance. When being and balance, they were saying that for them not to be burned out, they'll have to find method of relaxing. For example, they will like meditate, or they will also talk to their peers and try to adjust the balance in terms between your academic and their personal lives. So it's important that we have those environments in our institution so a student they can also be able to collaborate with other students and just have a time to decompress and to try to focus on other things rather than academics, so especially like sports and so forth. The last one, it was the strategies for the success. The strategies for the success, most of the students that they mentioned that if they plan their work and they plan when I'm supposed to submit my assignment, when I'm writing the test, that leads to success rather than they just coming in and not having a plan in place for their studies. So our discussion here, the question that we're trying to answer, what did we find with these results that we have? So what we found is that it is clear that the well-being and motivation can enhance the student's success in higher education. And what does that mean? It means that the deeper learning and the critical thinking theories suggest that students who engage in higher education thinking, like applying knowledge instead of memorizing their work, it performs better in the real world situation, because that if they have that information, they can be able to use it in their work environment. And then the other scholars, what are they saying about this topic that we're talking about? They say that motivation is a strong influence by students believe in power of an effort. If they put effort in their work, that is where they get motivated, as those who attribute success to hard work and more likely to stay motivated. That was supported by the author that you see there. And then the other scholar said that research and mindfulness and well-being shows that stress management techniques such as meditation and improve cognition performance and reduces the burnout on the students. So like I've mentioned before that they have meditation, they will do sports, they will also talk to their peers, try to relieve that burnout. And also the last one that they say the scholars mention is that the time management, self-regulation and work effort balances the crucial of long-term academic success and preventing burnout. So in conclusion, the motivation plays a vital role in student success by providing an energy and behaviors necessary to achieve academic potential. So whether driven by the intrinsic factors such as the personal growth and desire to learn, and also the passion and curiosity of the student, it fuels them to stay motivated. And also the intrinsic rewards such as recognition and the practical and the grades. So it's important that when your students do well, you recognize that they've done well. So that gives them the motivation as well. And also by fostering both the internal drive as well as the external incentive, like I've mentioned before, students are better equipped in meeting challenges and stay engaged and ultimately succeed in their academic professional pursuit. So it's important that you also always try to encourage your students when you are in class. So these are the references that these are the references that we use for the study, and I thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Any questions? There's another one there.
Thank you, for your presentation. I went to another department to ask for a space hall. I'm not sure that it works. I used it some. Would that be a good idea to distribute stress balls to students to ease the stress?
I believe any measure that can be assisted to the student, it will help. Not only the student in this case, the stressful, I think even the lecturers, they will prefer, they will appreciate the stressful. They can help all of us. So it's very important that we try to find other different methods that we can help our students. Like Dr. Mtasheni mentioned earlier, in our campus we have counseling. So you should always, like, if you see your students are not doing well, refer them to counseling because it's there to assist our students. And the other method that I don't know yet, I'm trying to find that myself, if we have other things that can assist our students besides them. We have sports, of course, we can still do sports, and if we can find other ones that are available, that would be great.
Thank you very much. The presentation was beautiful, and I think I understood everything. That's why I wish to. The title says "Unlocking Student Potential." Can you also maybe think of unlocking lecturers' potential? Because I think the challenges that are facing students, they also face. That was a good step. Thank you very much for the proposal.
Thank you, sir, for that question. I will attempt to wants to respond.
Dr. Mnapad, that's another research I think that we can actually do. But I realized that in recent years, it's more student-centered than a lecture student-centered. Like, it's not inclusive of lectures, but it's only student-centered. But I think that can be able to do, because if both lecture and student, their mental state is in a good position, then I think that things will be actually done well.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to find out, based on the study, do you think there's a correlation between class attendance and the student performance? Because you find that some students will then give you a response to say that I perform better when I'm studying, self-studying versus attending class. So I just wanted to check if you have looked into that. And secondly, is there a symbiotic relationship between the gender and gender representation as well as student performance? Because based on your response rate, you mentioned that it was 76% were female, if I'm not mistaken. So is it then that more respondents in terms of student performance, you receive it from the females versus the males in this regard?
Okay, let me start with the last one so that I remember what to say. Normally in our field, I think there's more female than male participants or patrons. I don't know how we describe it. So in my class, I would have 80% female, 20% ladies. Maybe they are not interested in the field that we study. It's not exciting to them. I wouldn't really say much because most of the things that we do is network, and maybe their critical thinking in terms of what is happening in the lab does not excite them. And then in terms of attendees, class attendees, I will give personal view because we did not do it. When we do online classes than physical attendees, I see that the success rate becomes better when it's face-to-face because most of the time students, when it's online, they don't actually attend your class. They switch on, but they are not there. Secondly, you become a radio presenter, like they don't participate at all. So I would really say, for me, the online class, it's more like a crisis in terms of if we have to get success rate, because in terms of face-to-face, there's more cooperation because there's engagement, participation, and all that.
But not for kids.
So, good afternoon. Is it afternoon or still morning? Doc, I love online classes. I'm an AI candidate because I have to master it before it master me. Student, we have to have the ways how to participate. Like with myself, with my theory, I do have an online class. I'm only sitting during practical. Still, the generation that we are teaching now, you still have to insist to participate, even you see them face to face. This is the crisis that we are having. Thank you.
Noted, ma'am. Can I add on that? I think it's like my colleague mentioned that with us, with science, it's better when they come face to face because they do a lot of calculation. Even the next people, they have other method that they used to teach online with calculation, but preferably we prefer face to face because of that reason mostly. And also we have to do the experiment. You can't do the experiment while you're home online. And then with the party, we don't even participate in class or online. What I usually do personally, the part that I've mentioned on the presentation is that you should have incentives. If students that they are gaining something when they attend, they will always come to class. With my classes, I always have about 80% of my classes, even if it's online or it's a face-to-face, because there's always the incentive. I ask you a question, I tell you that there's going to be this much marks, and then they will be committing to answer that question for those marks. So if you give incentive, you can come up with different incentives for your classes, and then students will come and attend because there is something that they are doing. Thank you.
Hi. I am emotionally wounded by this conversation. I'm trying to talk like the director and three big languages. I'm sitting here with Dr. Maseko, we deal with distance. So I just want to, and I'm not asking, I'm just making a comment. You don't need to answer. The conversation, you sound, all of you, as you're talking to the lady, you are thinking, teaching in silos. It's like you are apportioning importance to either face-to-face, and you're talking about the disadvantages of online. We don't do that. There's an approach in teaching that's called blended learning. I've given that. The Dema Secretary invited me to his college, where I gave workshops on that. If you talk face-to-face and you separate face-to-face from online, you're missing an ingredient component of what it means to teach online. Right now, all distance learning institutions recognize that we need to adopt a blended learning mode, which allows for us to engage online, but also to have face-to-face or to have hybrid. There's a whole approach, a range of approaches in teaching. Don't get stuck in apportioning importance to face-to-face or assuming that online learning therefore is ineffective, because when you do that, at a philosophical level, you are missing that whole combination. I just thought to clarify that. Thank you very much.
To add on what you're saying, it's not like we are dismissing the hybrid learning. We are trying to say that we are adjusting to it. It wasn't something that we were taught in school when we were still studying ourselves. We are adjusting to it. We are getting there. Thank you.
Okay, second presenter is Ms. Ike Senepe. The topic is factors influencing the provision of quality nursing, education, and training. The scoping review.
Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
My name is Ike Senepe, a nurse by profession primarily, and then a public health specialist in the Faculty of Applied and Computer Sciences, Health Sciences, and of course, nursing. My title for today, it's factors influencing the provision of quality nursing education and training, a scoping review, and a paper that is ongoing. Let me give a brief background on the paper that is ongoing. When I saw the VUT conference advert, I was stimulated, inspired that it was speaking to quality education, which is SDG 4. And I thought, from my experience as a nurse educator from 2005 and joined VUT later from a nursing school to a university, I need to be speaking to quality education and training, in particular for nurses. And I was also inspired and motivated this morning by the previous speakers, and was Mr. Sia, when he mentioned that education is political. As nurses, we are taught to be apolitical because we teach different cultures, gender, so on and so forth. But for today, like Mr. Sia, I am going to be political whilst speaking to quality education and training in nursing, and in particular my experience at the Valley University of Technology. An overview, I will give introduction, aim of the review, materials and methods, preliminary findings, and then discussion, and I will conclude. In my introduction, I thought, let me first start by defining nursing, or looking into what is nursing and what is nursing education. we know that from the apartheid era, nursing was mostly vocational, and then as time goes, then it was academic. And what was given and provided for nurses in South Africa, well, especially from the Department of Health, it was more vocational, the skills. Clinical is more important in nursing, and theory then follows. So nursing encompasses an autonomous and collaborative care of individuals of all ages, families, groups, and communities, sick or well. So as nurses, we deal with the population, the people either sick or well. When they are sick, we know that something is wrong, they are not feeling well. And then when they are well, it's family planning, it's condoms, and stuff like that. So that is nursing. And what I would like to emphasize is that nursing is autonomous, self-regulated through the Nursing Act. It is gazetted and it is autonomous, and which is a challenge in terms of the Vaal University of Technology. Number two, nursing is a noble profession. They say nursing is a calling. Yes, it is, but now is it anymore? I am not sure. However, it is based on philosophical framework, which is the credo and the nurses pledge. With the credo, it's the South African philosophy, beliefs of nurses, which is based in Christianity. I would not dwell much into Christianity. However, when we talk of the credo, which is the nurses philosophy, it speaks about belief, it speaks about faith, it speaks about assistance and support, and the therapeutic use of self when you are caring for patients. Nursing is caring. And the nurses pledge, we know that nursing originates from, the modern nursing, teaching, Florence Nightingale. However, in South Africa, we have got the nurses pledge, which is a pledge or sort of an oath that we are taking when we qualify as professional nurses. Why quality nursing education is important? It is important because nurses represent the largest regulated health professional by the South African Nursing Council, and like I've mentioned, based on the Nursing Act, gazetted, and it's led by the minister. Nurses account for most of the healthcare workforce. Nurses are the brain, the backbone. You can, decide. But however, nurses are the backbones. Nurses are the ones that would spend day and night with patients, and doctors will come, laboratory will come in, and so on and so forth. But however, healthcare workforce is made up of nurses. VUT 2020 predicts a shortfall of qualified nurses, reflecting the need to train more graduates in nursing. In the health sector, the education and training of nurses is very critical. Critical why? To ensure efficiency and effectiveness. And when we speak of efficiency and effectiveness, that is quality healthcare. And I'm sure you've seen in the news, we are challenged as the health sector with nurses and doctors. Nursing faculty needs skills and knowledge that includes interpersonal relationship, evaluation, teaching abilities, competence, and personality. And this has been discussed since yesterday in terms of when we speak of an educator. Nurses educators the same way. And nurses needs to be taken for training time and time again, so that they are relevant, they are competent to teach nurses. And there is also a need for educators to provide the use of innovative ways to meet the needs of the nursing students. And this was also talked about earlier on. The SDG 4, quality education, However, I looked into the political part of the SDG that speaks to aim to enhance skills for youth, adults, linked to work. And nursing is just that. Nursing is theory and practice, but what makes a nurse, it's practice more than the theory. That is why the nursing council requires 60% to be clinical, which is where integrated learning, and the theory to be at 40%. ICN theme, which is the International Council of Nurses for this year, it says our nurses, our future, the economic power of care. We know that if you are ill, if you are not yourself, you are not wealthy, you are not rich, you are not productive, and where does that come from? The nurses. Nursing education often faces neglect and insufficient attention. And personally, I've experienced that at VUT. It could be the legacy of nursing in VUT. 1985, it started in 1985, providing post-basic graduate up until 2016, when we started with the generic program of nursing. That legacy, I'm not sure, I'm still, that's why I'm saying this is an ongoing study. And I'm wondering, is this legacy of nursing from 1985 as a postgraduate program that created the frustrations, the challenges of ensuring that at VUT there is nursing education that gives efficient and effective programs. The objective of the scoping review, the objective is to explain actually the key factors that impact the quality of nursing education and training. So as I go on with this scoping review, that is the objective of explaining. The methodology and the scoping review is grounded in global scientific grade literature using preferred reporting items for systematic review, which is now the PRIMSA guidelines. And this would be more of a qualitative study. Comprehensive search included PubMed, ProQuest Nursing, Allied Health sources, your Google, your EBSCO host, you name them. And the search employed the following extraction: nursing education, and of course training, quality education, SDG 4, healthcare training, scoping review, institutional factors, curriculum development, pedagogical strategies, clinical placement, and educational infrastructure. With educational infrastructure at VUT, we did it. However, it doesn't please the Nursing Council and the Provincial Department of Health as the support system. So the eligibility criteria for clinical training, it was technology and artificial intelligence in nursing education. Those are new concepts, and as we were warned, we shouldn't allow AI to master us, and as nurse educators, we will try that. And nursing education, technology and artificial intelligence, it's very, very important, because we now know that in theaters, doctors are able to operate on a patient, and it's actually projected, and they can all see, including the nurses. Patient simulation, we've got patient simulation, we've got some simulation laboratories. However, we were promised as nursing at VUT that the C block would be availed for us, and we're still waiting. And unfortunately, as we wait for the C block, we don't have students anymore. We do not have a curriculum anymore. And I'm sure colleagues are wondering, those who have seen me before, why with the braids?
because nurses are not there. So I said, let me venture into this hairstyle. When they come back, my hair will be short again as a role model to nursing students. Nursing faculty teaching characteristics are very important. A challenge that I've experienced, a challenge that we have faced as nurse educators at VUT University of Technology is that of not being able to recruit nurse educators that are experienced, that are able, I'm sorry to say that, but that is what has happened. And when we recruit, it's either they are retired or they are about to retire. And then theoretical teaching, I've indicated that from the South African Nursing Council as the regulatory body. Yes, of course, higher education also regulates us, but however, the theoretical teaching in terms of nursing, it is 40%, 60% is that of clinical experience, which might also be referred to as work integrated learning. And then articles that were searched and used for this ongoing paper, it was all English. And I hope that with the language translation at the university, as nursing, we will use that, and in future we will be able to use other languages in terms of reviewing literature. Study selection. Online studies were screened, reviewed, and examined. Studies not addressing quality, nursing education, and training were excluded. Preliminary findings of the scoping review, the review that is in progress. Adequate funding, it's needed. We know that there is clinical training grant, but however, because the South African Nursing Council stipulates a ratio of a nurse educator to students of 15, then we are not able to get, enough funding. Our students at universities are not the same as students in nursing education colleges who get a bursary. In our time, it was a salary, and that is why we are here today. However, things have changed. Leadership commitment, when we talk of leadership in nursing, according to the Nursing Act of 2005, it says, because nursing is an autonomous profession, it has to be led by an expert. And the only expert in nursing is a nurse educator or a nurse manager. Supportive policies are crucial for fostering a conducive learning environment. At this particular moment, we do not have a curriculum. We should have had a curriculum by 2019 and new students, and we are here today. It's 2024, we still do not have a curriculum. What is worse, we do not have students anymore. Are we still existing or are we not existing? And for us to exist, we need policies. Policies are derived from legislation. The Nursing Act, of course, the Health Act, and other related health acts and policies. But then, still, that is a challenge because we are not able to recruit people who are still fit for purpose in terms of nursing education and training. And then in closing, curriculum relevance is also important. Integration-based practices and alignment with current healthcare needs ensures that nursing program produce competent graduates. And we know now we're talking of MPOX, we're talking about COVID, we're talking about, other things. So therefore, our students need to be relevant. Qualifications, of course, I've mentioned that. And access to diverse and well supervised clinical placement is essential. And clinical placement is very, very important. And the availability of modern educational facilities, simulation laboratories, we do have. However, the space that we have, it is not friendly at the moment for nurse educators and nursing students. The discussion, an imperative to address all the multifaceted factors that influence quality of nursing. And then this scoping review highlights the need for comprehensive strategies to ensure that we give quality nursing education supported by infrastructure, of course. In conclusion, by addressing these factors, it can ensure provision of high quality nursing education that is both effective, efficient, and ultimately leading to improved healthcare outcome, where you will not see Helen, Joseph, and Bara this morning and last week. References that I've used some of them, and I thank you.
Okay, any questions? Yes.
Monsieur is asking questions all the time. Okay. Over.
Thank you. How's it getting? Which are all getting? Kibatla would clap or was it kidding? This is what I wanted to do. How's the lady? I sympathize with you, but I want to talk to you from a strategic point of view. You are driving a very important provision. But what you are telling us now as a collective is that you haven't thought out very clearly what your mandate is, what you want to do, how you want to do it. I would like to have, I'm not going to spill the beans here because there's so much dirty linen, but I would like to have a moment with you outside. As a nurse in an institution, you cannot sit back and say, I don't have facilities. When we do that, we adopt a victimhood mentality. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to go that route. What you need to do is to think about how do you create a product, your curriculum. Sit down in your office, consult other nurses, look into other programs, develop a product. You say here in your last statement, you don't have a curriculum. You shouldn't say that in your conference. You should create a curriculum and make sure that that curriculum is something everyone would want to. It must be, we always say, when I teach people statistics, it must be a product that leads to with a wow. Create a wow project. Then once you have done that, you go and brand it, you market it, you advertise. That's how you recruit. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. So we need, you and I, outside this conference, we need to talk. We need to take you through a process of product creation, branding, marketing, advertising, selling that. When you do that, then you create a buzz around what you offer. Don't be a victim of institutional inefficiencies or lack of cash. No, don't. Be a change agent. Lead by example. I'll stop.
Thank you so much, Musiwe, Professor. I hear you. I understand, and in terms of the information that I've shared today, which is very controversial, and like I've said, that when I was sitting there and coming here, you know, I decided I might be politically correct and I might be politically wrong. However, I hear you, Professor, and when I meant we do not have curriculum, probably I wanted to speak to a number of things, but we are developing a curriculum that is not yet successful. That is what I wanted to emphasize. However, I hear you, I understand, and would be happy to meet you outside of this conference and discuss the marketing and moving nursing forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you get into your presentation now. I really appreciate because you provoked the professor to say something I like to hear. I have developed products which I think should go to the market. So I'll talk to the professor as well about this. But here is my question. You spoke about the ongoing training of nurses to up their skills. I wanted to know whether you've seen AI forthcoming in those trainings, because as people have been speaking, we are in that era.
AI, did I say it? When we were creating the program, did we look into AI and technology? To be honest, not yet. That is why I've then borrowed from Dr. Maseko to say that artificial intelligence, we need to master it before it masters us. However, this is something that will be looked into. Thank you, Doctor.
Good day, colleagues. I just want to ask maybe a point of clarity. If there were any strategic measures put in place, such as maybe having some benchmarks as much as whatever that was presented to provincial and nursing council was rejected, and us being led to a point where we no longer have students, and such information, it's something that's under the carpet and not officially communicated to the larger group in our society or community. Have there been any extramural, maybe I would agree with the professor, activity or project that was put in place to ensure that VUT nursing department is actually on par and there's competitive environmental analysis with regards to other institutions that offer the same course, and that would make maybe students being interested in actually coming in to support or to study the nursing qualification as is. Thank you.
Thank you. A very good question indeed. And thank you for the question. And like I've said to Professor, to say that when I came on stage, I then, as an academic, choose to wear a political cap, which I now understand it's not relevant in a conference platform. However, to answer your question, yes, we have, and whatever challenges that we are facing, that we are not being able to be accredited, it is because of staff capacity in terms of nursing education by the South African Nursing Council, what is expected and which we do not have at the moment. Thank you. I hope you are answered.
Our next presenter is Yatri A. Amela, S. Lowe's, and B. Campbell.
Thank you. It's good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm standing here and will be talking on behalf of the neglected child in the teaching and learning academic projects. And that is academic libraries. We are dealing with an issue, and I heard other colleagues earlier saying decolonization, saying transformation. Which one is which? We're dealing with that challenge. And my name is Sita Blosser. and I'm from the VUT library, and I'm presenting here together with my colleague, Manela, as well as Bizile Dende. I'm not sure what's happening with technology today. Maybe AI can help me. Yeah. Okay, while we wait for that, in 2015, world leaders gathered together in New York at the headquarters of the United Nations. And there, they came up with what they called a transformative agenda. And referring to the two keynote speakers today, I'm now asking myself whether what came out there as SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, is actually a transformative agenda. But I don't think that will be a topic that will delve into much today. So what we want to talk about today, we're just going to give a brief introduction of our title, background and context, and then we'll address the problem, objectives of the study, and then we'll methodology. And I need to mention that this is an ongoing paper, so we are still in that process. Then we'll have a brief discussion on certain areas that we have already found as we are working with the study. Okay, so as I've already said that this came out from the United Nations, and from these 17 SDGs, the library features in almost all of them. But when it comes to the most important issue, the learning and teaching academic projects, the library is pushed to that corner there. We are not relevant. It's an issue that we're hoping to address. We're hoping that this paper is going to address this issue. Okay, so just to give a little bit of background on SDG 4, the aim of SDG 4 is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, and at the same time promotes lifelong learning opportunities. If you look at these three components, these are three components that you will find in the academic library or in any community library in South Africa. However, there is an issue that we will get to as we continue discussing it. And then the next point is the South African higher education system comprises of a mixed historical advantage and disadvantage institutions. We've got those institutions that are given a higher status, then we've got those institutions that are low there. Whether it's by effects of system or it's us here at VUT and other institutions that are regarded as being low there, that are not doing enough. And then you've got a situation where the advantaged institutions are getting more money and the disadvantaged institutions are getting less money. When you fall into that category of disadvantaged institution, the first thing that will happen, what the institution will do when they cut the budget, the library will be the first one. Are we then able as the library to deliver what you expected to deliver? The question I cannot answer. If I don't have resources, I will struggle. I will skip the next part with the interest of time so that we can move. And as I've indicated, that South Africa also is dealing with the challenge of inequality within higher education, and as well as
Also to mention that education is the cornerstone and is recognized as a fundamental human right. And this is one of the reasons why, as part of the 17 SDG, education, let me say quality education was made a priority. So in achieving these goals, there are certain things that need to be done. So let me skip here as well and focus here so that we can focus on the more critical part. In addressing the problem, as I've already indicated that the contribution of the library in SDG 4 is often overlooked. And as such, libraries end up being vulnerable to many critical issues such as relevance, such as budget cuts, as I've already indicated. So this year leads to a situation where libraries contribute less in SDG 4. And as I said, whether is it a system or it's by default, it's a question I cannot answer. So this paper, as I said earlier, it's an ongoing paper. What it wants to do, we want to clarify and bring to life the effectiveness of academic libraries in supporting quality education in line with all the SDGs, the 17 SDGs that were mentioned. So in terms of the methodology, this paper will follow an integrated literature review. So what we want to do is to look at all literature that speaks about the contribution that libraries are making on SDG 4. And then in terms of analyzing the information that we'll be getting, we'll use a content analysis where that information will search on various peer review databases, as well as mainly databases like Scopus, Science Direct, Emerald, EBSCO, and other databases where we can find relevant information. And then now, in terms of a brief discussion, we just want to, as I said, we just want to bring to light what academic libraries can offer to the learning and teaching projects. So here, the first one is, we just mentioned a few things which libraries can offer to teaching and learning. First one being an effective collaboration with faculties. Yes, we do have, for example, at VUT, we do have faculty librarians. How much are they being involved in the processes that are happening there? It's a question I ask to everyone in this room. You can answer it yourself. Do you make an effort to invite the library to be a part of what the faculty is doing? One of the things which the library is struggling with as a result of this challenge that we find that the lack of collaboration is that we often struggle as a library to align with the institutional academic goals. And those things come from the faculty. So if we do not have a good relationship with the faculty, then as the library, we then trying to picture ourselves in the dark. Okay, this is where we should be. This is where we think we should be going. And then the next point is resources management. By this, we're referring to all the databases that we have in the library. We're referring to all the communal resources that we have in the library that students and academics have access to. The next point is, how does the library support service SDG 4 through the services that we offer as well as the facilities? We offer enhanced learning opportunities. Whatever this is being taught in the lecture room, the student can come in the library and find extra information on that. We offer access to various scholarly resources, and one of our roles is to ensure equity to information access. If I were to make a simple example, in the library here in Van der Bay Park, when you enter the library, there is a section called a reading section. In that section, there all the prescribed books that are prescribed for subjects taught at VUT, they are there. A student that cannot afford to buy a book can go to the library and get it. Then if you go back to the earlier point that I raised earlier about the relationship between the library and the faculty, which is lacking in a way. We then have a situation where a lecturer is prescribing a book this year for next year. They do not tell the library, we do not have that. And yes, we have a mean to be able to go buy that book. So that relationship that I spoke about is important in ensuring that the library is able to achieve its goal of providing equity to information access. And then how does the library staff contribute to SDG 4? In such a library training, information literacy, fostering lifelong learning, supporting diverse learning needs. And we do understand that students have different learning styles. And that's where the library comes in. When a lecture in the lecture room cannot accommodate all the students in terms of their learning style, the library comes in and closes that gap. That is a big contribution that we are making to SDG 4. In the interest of time, I'll just simply try and close with the potential that academic libraries have. Digital transformation, improving on research support and learning, collaborating with faculties and researchers, embracing emerging technology. And this is an issue for everyone, not only for academic libraries. As my good doctor there said, we must master this technology before it masters us. So as the library, we need to make sure that we embrace. In embracing, we are assisting everyone in the institution. And then development of digital literacy, enhancing student success, and preserving and providing access to unique collection. So in closing, maybe I'll close with a question which I raised earlier. Are SDG what it is supposed to be? That's the first question. Second question is, what are we as academics doing to assist the library to be able to continue on this mandate of contributing to SDG in the manner that we are supposed to? So as I said, that when I started, this is more of an advocacy scholarship. I'm closing on that point. This is an advocacy scholarship. So I'm leaving those questions. You will answer them on your own, and you will help us in answering them as well. I thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Actually, for me, it's not a question, but it's a concern. I am a postgrad student at VUT, doing my PhD, and I have to read. I need to read a lot. So my concern is aligned with you mentioned resource management and access to library. So I want to understand, is it a physical library? Because you mentioned the access when you enter, or it's online. Because as a postgrad student, it's been 2 years now. struggle every single day when I need to access the journal online to VUT library. I have to walk to the campus for me to have access. And if I don't do that, I need to email to, there's a wonderful lady who assists us, the name of the journal. Then she can download for me and send to me. So for me, it's a real struggle. And when we mention access to resource management and access, and mention quality access, I don't receive it as a VUT postgrad student. And I struggle. I've been raising the issue. I came to the campus, and every single day I must come for me to access a journal, which you have all the way to the library. So I don't know, can you clarify, is it an access on physical library, or are you talking access even to access it online?
Okay, thank you for that question. I'll try and clarify. The VUT library and perhaps all other academic libraries at the moment in South Africa and globally, they're in two folds. We have a physical library that you find when you go into a campus, and then you've got an online library where you can access resources at any time. And it goes back to the issue that I mentioned as one of the problems, which is the lack of relationships with the faculty. If there is a good relationship between the library as well as the faculty, then you'll be able to have a situation where the faculty is making sure that you get access to the library and the library provides you with the resources that you have. So we need to fix those small gaps that we have, those little problems that we have that we need to fix. But for example, here in this room, I think you've got a research support librarian. I'll kindly recommend that maybe at the end of the session, you speak to her, she will give you her email address, and then she'll be able to assist you and send you, for example, when you're working at midnight, where do you find the peer-reviewed databases that the library subscribes to, so that you're able to find resources on your own. Because one of the important components of what we want to speak about is the issue of independent information seekers. And as the library, we have to contribute by teaching you that. And unfortunately, we have a situation where the faculty is not giving us space to teach you that. And then we have this situation that you're complaining about. So this, I'm speaking to everyone in the room, that we ask the faculties to give us space as a library to make that contribution. Because who is struggling with the student is not us. The most important person is the student. So I'm making that request.
I'll present next time. I have a lot to say. Next time presenting.
Thank you so much. I'm puzzled by your title of your presentation.
Okay. But I get
you make reference to South African academic libraries and their effectiveness. Yes. Your actual presentation is about your own institution and what appears to be, challenges there. And I'm also puzzled for the second time. The other puzzle for me is that a library, especially an academic library, cannot marginalize itself, if I can use that phrase. Because what I'm hearing is that we don't seem to understand the value and the power of these repositories, which are vital for learning and research and scholarship in our institutions. And to hear, someone who says advocating for, the library, I missed perhaps one particular important role of a library, especially an academic library. Whenever there's an expectation for some of us that a library becomes a strategic partner to the academy. And in so doing, you make yourself at the center, you position yourself to be at the center of the knowledge project. Let me give an example here. I missed a very cardinal supporter role of a library. For example, around issues of bibliometrics, how do you assist a researcher, for example, when it comes to how they can be the best academic citizen they want to be? General impact factors, etc., the training that you offer and render these academics, to the postgraduate students in terms of the value of these resources and how also they can develop their career going forward. Is that asking too much, perhaps, in terms of the library?
Let me answer the first question. Give the second question to my colleague behind you there. Regarding the title, what we are speaking to is a national problem, if not a global challenge, where libraries are making as much as possible time and efforts to be effective, but that does not come out because there are certain components that are missing in ensuring that the library contributes what it needs to contribute. So the title is not only about VUT. It happens that VUT is an example, and VUT, that's where challenges with the libraries are being noted the most. However, what we're speaking about, the international challenge, if you were to go to another, I see, for example, Mawusutu here. What I'm speaking about today, the challenge that we are raising, if you were to speak with somebody from the library there, they will mention the very same issue. So it's an issue that needs a national interest so that it's sorted. In some other institution, the library is given the status that it deserves, but for you to get the status that you deserve, there's certain correct things that you need to do for you to be recognized as an institutional library. Unfortunately, and I'll be honest in front of everyone here, there are certain things that it's VUT library are not doing. Because if I lie about that, then that problem will not be fixed. There are certain things that need to be done, but they are not being done. And some of them come from institutional level, and they contribute to what is happening at the VUT library. So the title is speaking about all academic libraries in South Africa. I don't know if I'm answering you correctly. Thank you. I'm going to give my colleagues to answer the second part of the question.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon, colleagues. I don't know whether I heard the question correctly about advocating the library as a strategic asset and some of the services like bibliometrics, impact factor, and all those things. Yes, as the institution, I believe Mr. Valo will know the history of the VUT library, how neglected it is in terms of the leadership. But we are not going to be political because we are not here to be political, but to advocate for the library. In 2023, or let me say 2022, VUT closed the Secunda campus, and we used to have one librarian there. And then 2023, we received that librarian, and
because we are trying to accommodate the needs of our users. That librarian, I can say that from 2023, and it pains me because the colleague that I'm sitting next to has been complaining to me about the challenges they are having in terms of accessing the virtual library. So we now have the research support librarian that is responsible for some of the services. And then in 2024, I also moved one of the librarians who used to work at night, and we shifted that librarian to work during the day. And the role that he has taken now is that of the research data management. Yes, with the little staff that we have, we are trying to move to where the academic library is supposed to be. Yes, we do not have enough professional staff, as you know. We have a lot of professional, but with the little that we have, we are trying that we cover those areas that we think we are needing. I don't know whether I've answered your question. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. The last presenter is Dr. Umeba from VUT. The topic is the life course perspective on the management of the university capacity development program at the University of Technology, South Africa. And
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Or should I say good evening? Yeah, but when people are sleeping, then we may just well say evening. Colleagues, I'm going to present here an ethnographic study. I realize that most presentations have been either spoken reviews or the data collection method would be when colleagues have participated. But in this one, as you can see, that is, it is an ethnographic study, then it means the participant was actually myself. Okay, and I'm sure you'll say, how is that possible? Program session chair. What time are we going for lunch?
Please don't stand between us and
It's half past. Which one?
It's a good question.
Okay. Okay, no, that's fine. So, colleagues, I'm going to be talking about the life course perspective on the management of the University Capacity Development Grant. A University Development Grant, colleagues, I'm sure we're all here because probably this very conference has been funded through the University Capacity Development Grant. And this grant was introduced in 2018. If you remember, before we had teaching development grant and research development grant. So those two had to be brought together to have what we call a UCDP. So the implementation of the UCDP is supported through University Development Grant and other DHTMR grants and collaborations and partnership that the department and universities established locally and internationally. But then the question is why this funding mechanism was introduced. Colleagues, you know our history, and our history has been spoken about in this very conference for quite some time. I'm not going to delve much on that, but safe to say that education was weaponized in the past. And
the University Capacity Development Grant was then introduced as a mechanism to try and deal with the injustices of the past. So, and then the government, after we transitioned from the apartheid to the era we are in, then introduced several structures, which includes the constitution itself. And the constitution states clearly that education is a right. The Bill of Rights does provide that it is a right. It's not like you are giving me something that I don't deserve, irrespective of color, irrespective of gender. Then the National Council of Higher Education, which recommended a cooperative governance between government and higher education, and that the public funding framework should consist of two components, that is funding formula and earmark grants. So that's where we are right now. And then we talk of a Higher Education Act and a white paper, which the white paper emphasized on the need to sustain adequate levels of academic staff, build capacity, develop future generation of academics, and substantiated improved equity. So the universities has had to set up systems to manage this to implement the UCDP. At this university, I was then given a responsibility over and above my responsibility that I was employed for. But then the question is, was I ready for that? And who also trained me to manage, to be a UCDP manager for the institution, which of course, I'm saying I didn't apply for that, but I had to take up that responsibility, which was good. Okay. Then the research problem is that the UCDP in South Africa has been implemented for over 2 cycles now. We are in the 3rd cycle, by the way. But although the management of grant in South Africa is well documented, then the literature that documents the experiences of UCDP managers is still limited. So that is the end, colleagues, that I wanted to look at and try to see how do we offer as far as the management of the grant is concerned. And why particularly this study is because essentially it addresses the issue of the goal 4 of the SDGs. So that is why it is important that we engage on this, because sometimes we do things and then we don't reflect on how we do those things. Then the purpose of the study was to reflect and document personal experiences in managing university development grant. The theoretical framework is a life course theory that looks at how people live and how their patterns of living influence how the experiences influence how they do things. Okay. Then the methodology, the research paradigm it uses 2 research paradigms, that is the interpretivism and the critical theory. And research approach is qualitative research. Research type is ethnographic, as I did indicate in the beginning. And then the data collection was essentially collected. It was a personal reflection and the institutional documents together with the UCDP plans. using the theoretical framework, the life course theoretical framework, I just want to highlight that I did not cover all the elements of the theory, but I covered the pathways, transitions, and trajectories. On the pathways, colleagues, is that we've now been in this journey for the past 6 years, and this is what happened in 2017. We're all asked by the department to put up a proposal, and at that point, we had to put those proposals for approval by the department, and the department selected certain individuals within the sector to say, "Come, let's review the proposals that were submitted to the department." And after the approval, then the institution received a letter to say your plan has been approved, and then the department released the fund. Similarly, when we moved to the second cycle, the same process happened. It doesn't matter whether you had managed to get funding in the first cycle. The second cycle, you have to also apply, because the projects that are there, remember, we are focusing on curriculum, student development, and staff development. So it was then important that we go through the same process. Interestingly, every year we have to submit audit reports to the department. And in those audit reports, they also determine how much you're going to get. Because if you underspend, then as a UCDG manager, you have to answer from the executive why we underspend. If your finance department works well, you cannot overspend. That's the beauty of it. You're unlikely to overspend. But if it's not working properly, then you have a problem. Okay. Then the findings for the transition. When we started during the proposal stage, I was actually a team member who put together the proposal. But interestingly, when we're just about to start implementing the proposal, then I started moving to be a project leader, and eventually I got this blessing of being a UCDP manager for the institution, which is now had to stretch, because it didn't mean that I should forget about my duties that I have, but it was just a responsibility. So that is the transition that happened, which in itself did shape the way I actually do things. And on the trajectory, colleagues, and unfortunately, I'm not going to try and explain the elements of the life course theory, because we are trying to rush time, and I know we are also hungry. But anyway, on the trajectory, I must say that being part of this project has actually assisted me to have a hands-on leadership skills in trying to implement the UCDG. Also, the financial skills also improved. From as a person, you know where you stand as far as the finances are concerned. But this was a great opportunity for me, because I had to learn financial accounting so that I'm able to deal with these millions that the department gives the university. It doesn't give me, but the university. Yes, and then I got a deeper understanding of a funding system within the university. I mean within the sector. I applied the proposal writing and evaluation skills. So that is a skill I probably would not have acquired if I was not given this added responsibility, but also if I did not agree. Okay, then the other side of the trajectory is that it was not always nice to be there were challenges, because you find that the institutions sometimes do not